One of the things that is really interesting, and especially when you're going to a different country, is that you're going to have a little bit of culture shock. And the people you're going to be with are different than you. Both your companions, the people you serve with, and the people that you're serving. And so I think it's important to keep an open mind and to understand that not everyone's been raised in the same way that you have, and not everyone's been raised the same way as maybe your friends have been. And I saw that quickly in the MTC. My companion when I was in the MTC was named Elder Falasui, and he was a missionary from American Samoa. And the way that he was just very different. His background was extremely different than mine. I remember that he spent a lot of time when we were learning the language in the MTC and trying to practice and things like that. I remember that it seemed like maybe he wasn't getting it quite as easily, and so I didn't quite know how best to help him and things like that. And it wasn't until about halfway through the MTC that I realized we were learning English, or we were learning Spanish from English. Another fellow, so he knew English, but he didn't know it nearly as well as I thought he did. And there were a lot of times where when I finally, was able to talk to him and realize, why maybe some things were harder than others, I realized that a lot of the words he was trying to learn in Spanish, he didn't really even understand what they meant in English. And so it was a really great experience for me to realize, sometimes you assume people know things, but they might not at all, especially when it comes to things like the gospel. We might assume that people know what we mean when we say Jesus Christ and things like that, but sometimes they maybe don't, or maybe they think they do, but the way they're interpreting a word is completely different than the way we do. Maybe in a word like the atonement, we have one interpretation of it and we know that it means certain things, but another person hears it and says, oh yeah, I know what that is, but they're thinking about it in a completely different way. And it's just a lot of it has to do with the way we're raised and where we come from and the experiences we've had in our lives. And it's important to remember that those are all going to be extremely different. And so when you go to Honduras, and when you go probably anywhere, but at least from my experience in Honduras, it was important to realize that these people are different. And the way that they see things and their experiences and how they've come to be who they are is going to be greatly influenced by how they grew up. And it's going to be different than the way you grew up. And so as long as you keep that in mind and really try to keep an open mind on when you talk to different people, you'll have a lot less confusion and a lot less mix-ups.